Hello, it's Elizabeth from BB's Butterfly, and today we are going to have a little bit of fun with my homemade jelly plate. And I've been trying to make a video for about a week, but between work and my craft room being a mess and my jelly plate breaking, it has been a complete disaster. So I got everything rearranged, and so now we're going to try again. So first things first, I bought these clear, they're called crystal clear boxes from Hobby Lobby, and they're kind of like acetate but not quite. And these are actually little display boxes or gift boxes or shipping boxes, but they're clear. And I cut the tops and the bottoms off, and I made these clear plastic sheets. And they're a lot thicker than the acetate sheets, so they're really sturdy. So I got some of these, and I have this handy dandy cutting mat that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it came two to a package for 50 cents. But a tip about that, they do not do well with a craft knife. They don't hold up to it. The craft knife goes right through it because they are kind of thin. But it works great for a non-stick craft mat. So that's what I'm using. So, and I apologize for the glare. When I rearranged my table, I was hoping that wouldn't happen, but it did. So I apologize. When we get some paint on here, it won't be so bad. And also, I discovered that the pan that I made my jelly plate in had a hole in it on one side, so my jelly plate is kind of lopsided. But what can you do? Alright, so today we're going to do a jelly plate tape pull, but I'm going to do something fun with it. I was testing out a couple of ideas the other day, and I came up with something really awesome. So I know a lot of people have seen jelly plate tape pulls, but we're going to do my twist on it. So first things first, we need some paint. And I have a ton of this folk art and plaid paints that I got at Walmart, and the apple barrel ones were, I think, 50 cents at Walmart, and then the metallics and the glitter was, I think it was just under $2. But anyway, we're gonna have some fun. So I have all kinds of different colors sitting at the edge of my craft table, if you can see them right here. So I have lots of reds and pinks and purples and blues, and so we're gonna go for it. First, I think I'm going to, I really like this wild iris color. I don't know if you can see that real well, but it's a purple. So I'm just gonna shake that up. And you don't need a whole lot of paint. So I'm just going to put some dots on there. And because I'm doing a purple and pink theme, this one was Wild Iris. And I have a pink eraser color. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then I think I'm going to use some of this extreme glitter. It's by Folk Art, it's called Fuchsia. And what's good about this is the glitter doesn't actually mess up your mat, but it does give it some nice shimmer. Or it doesn't mess up your jelly plate is what I was trying to say. Alright, and I have this awesome brayer. This was actually my mother's. She used to be a fingerprint person. And so this is what she would use to spread the ink on the little fingerprint plate, whatever. But anyway, then she retired from that, and so she used it for her crafts, and I have now come into ownership of the squeaky brayer. So I do apologize for the squeaky. So we're just going to roll that on. Sorry, super squeaky. And you want it kind of thin because you want to be able to just use it as the background, but you want it thick enough so that when it dries, the paint comes off. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. And again, I apologize for the squeaky brayer. All right, so now because this is a tape pull, we need to let this dry. And I just happen to have my handy dandy hair dryer that has served me for many, many years. I had to retire it because the handle broke and it just wasn't serving its purpose anymore. So I repurposed it and now it's my craft dryer. So the cool thing about this is it has a cool setting, so whenever I am blow drying my jelly plate, it doesn't melt it. So that's really awesome. Anyway, I'm going to pause the video and dry this, and then I will be right back. All right, so now that is dry, and I am going to play with some different stencils. I bought these stencils at Walmart when I was buying my paints, and they came in all kinds of different shapes and designs, and you can tell that I used them. Like I said, I was trying to make a video and it didn't work out real well. So there's paint all over my stencils and I don't care. I'm just going to be playing around with them anyway, so it's not a big deal to me. But I highly recommend you do clean them, because you will want to use them on something else and you don't want them sticking together or creating a big mess. So, the other thing I was playing around with, I was watching a video, and this lady was using her embossing folders as a kind of stencil, and it does work. You can tell because I used mine. And you just put the paint on here and then smush it down onto your jelly plate to have little designs. So that's kind of fun. And I think that's actually what I'm going to do right now. I get my paints, my little paint brushes, because I want to do, I like to paint on the paint on here, and whenever I'm using my stencils, I like to use paint on them and paint over them, because I think you just get a much better design. You can always, you know, brayer on your paint and then put this down and lift it up, but I don't think that works as well as painting through the stencil. I watched a video earlier today where a lady she put her stencil down and then she put a piece of paper over the top of it to pull out some of the paint out of the middle of the design. But to me, when I tried that, the paint actually came off my first layer, so I don't like doing that. So I think I'm going to go with some blue metallic. This is blue sapphire, and I really like blue sapphire. I don't know how well this is going to work, so we're just going to attempt it. So I'm just brushing the paint over my embossing folder on the side that has the image raised, because I want to use it kind of like a stamp, where the image gets the paint on it and the paint then puts the image on the jelly plate. I've done it both ways, and this way seems to work the best. So just gonna smush some paint stencil stuff around. You can see how nice that comes on. And for those of you, I don't know if I said it before, but for those of you that want to know how to make a jelly plate, the Frugal Crafter has a really great video on how to make a jelly plate, and I believe Pink Poodle Crafts has a video. I love watching Pink Poodle Craft videos. She cracks me up. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. Just some random designs on there. And then I have this one that looks kind of like a meandering pattern. If anybody does quilting, you know the meandering pattern, so that's what this one reminds me of. So I think I'm going to use it, and I think I'm going to rinse that off. I'm going to use another color. I have this Atlantis color. It's really pretty. I think I'm going to use that. Should have gotten out one of my bowls so I can put some paint in it, but that's okay. And again, I like to paint on the color if I'm using a stencil, just because I like the way that looks better. And you don't have to be too heavy-handed with the paint. It'll go on nicely. If you're too heavy-handed with it, then the paint gets up underneath your stencil and it kind of distorts your design. And that's okay if that's, you know, if that doesn't bother you, that's fine. Sometimes I care and sometimes I don't. Right now I don't care. Ooh, that looks nice. And again, I'm just kind of randomly placing my designs. Kind of like that. It looks really fun. This side's already dry, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of go over part of that design that I put down a few minutes ago, just to kind of give it another layer. Ooh, that looks really cool. I think I'll do it again over here. That looks pretty awesome. Okay. So now I have a, I haven't used the hot rod or red or the bright red, and I don't think I'm going to, but I am going to try, I think I'll just use straight amethyst. This is the amethyst, it's purple metallic. I think I'll use that. See what that looks like if I paint it on. It's a really pretty purple color. I don't know if you can see. I like that a lot. So it's kind of the same color as my background. So I don't know if that's going to work out too well. But we'll see. That's kind of interesting. I don't know if you can see because of the glare. So dipping the paintbrush into the bottle does not seem to work out real well. I do have some paper though. Move my trusty hairdryer and my brayer. And again, you don't need a whole lot. What I may actually do is mix some of my darker purple in with that. Because you know, you can mix paints. Let's see. I'm going to mix some of the wild iris into it and see if I can retain the pearlescence but make it a little bit darker. And you kind of can. So, let's see what happens with that. Where do I want to put it? Do it right here. And I pulled up some of the paint, and that's okay. I'm not purposefully trying to be quiet. I just, whenever I'm really concentrating and working, I tend to get really quiet. And I pulled up some more paint, but that's okay, because we're gonna go over it again anyway with something else. All right, so now that I have this on here, I need to let this dry because I have all these patterns kind of splashed all over the place. So I want to let that dry before I go on to the next thing. So I'll be right back. Okay, so now we're back, and I dropped my baby wipe. And I stuck my hand in purple paint. That's okay. What fun is it if it's not messy? All right, so like I said, when I used the last stencil, it pulled some of the paint off of the Gelli plate in places in the middle, but that's okay with me. That's perfectly fine because I'm going to do something else with it. I have this color here called Vanilla Ice Cream. So one of the ladies that I was watching used a piece of recycled, like a ribbon spool, and that's actually what I'm going to use to do my next thing. And you just put a little bit on a bowl, in a bowl, or on a piece of paper or whatever, and you take your spool and you dip it into the paint, and it creates like a little circle. So we're going to take my circle. And I'm just going to create little rings in places on my plate. And they don't have to be full circles. They can hang off the page. They can interlock, which is kind of fun. Pretty much a little bit of whatever you want. Ooh, big glob. Yuck. Just dab that up just a little bit so it dries better. All right, so that looks kind of nice. The other thing you can do is take one of the tips of your paintbrush and use the handle end and just make little dots in places. So I think I'm going to do some of that. And you don't want the paint real thick on the tip of your paintbrush, otherwise it's going to take forever to dry. And I probably could have used a darker purple, but that's okay. And I'm just kind of randomly plopping it on there. You can even take a little bit of the white and do the same thing. So that's kind of fun. All right, and now to do the next piece, I need to let this dry again, so I will be right back. So, since it took the paint off, I have some space here. So I think I'm just going to lay this bad boy down and do a fleur-de-lis instead. And that'll be awesome. Make a mistake, that's okay. There are no mistakes. I have an awesome stamp that talks about making mistakes. Something about creativity is allowing yourself to make mistakes, and art is knowing which ones to keep. I think that's a Tim Holt stamp, but I love it. It reminds me that in art, there are very few mistakes. You just learn how to make something different. Ooh, so that's kind of cool. I think I'm going to do a piece of that again. Right here. I love finding out new stuff, trying out new stuff, allowing yourself to just be super creative. And not taking yourself so seriously all the time. All right. So that looks pretty awesome. And I think that's where I'm going to stop. I'm not going to do anything, well, I guess I could do something in the middle. I'll just put one of these in the middle. I wasn't going to do something in the middle because I only needed a piece of this whole tape pull, but I might as well because I could use it for something completely different with that awesome scrolly thing. Super happy about that. It's a fancy way to color your chipboard pieces. Because I don't think you could have done that on purpose. Okay. That is just too awesome. Oh my God, I love that. All right. So now see how much black paint I can get on my fingers. All right, now I need to dry this, and it has to be completely dry before you put tape on it. Otherwise, the paint doesn't dry and the paint won't come off the Gelli plate. So I will be right back one more time. And I'm back. The Gelli plate is dry, and I've kind of cleaned off my space some so that I have room to work, because now comes the tape part. And what you're going to want is, I'm using some dictionary paper. My dictionary paper is not like normal dictionary paper. It's not that really thin tissue paper stuff. This is a little bit thicker. This book is from, I think, the 70s or something like that. Anyway, I just ripped out a couple of pages, and I'm going to use it to lay my tape pull onto for the next part. So I have some tape. You are going to want some really good, clear packaging tape. I am using Scotch packaging tape. Came to in a package. It was like, I don't know, $8, something like that. 2 honking huge rolls. And what you want to try to do is avoid fingerprints and other marks. And so when I do this, I'm going to attempt to measure out my pieces so that I have room to put my fingers. And I'm actually going to start at this end. And when you do this, you want to overlap your tape just a bit. I don't know if you can see where my tape starts. But you want some hanging off because you want to be able to pick it all up. So I just laid that down and I'm just kind of smushing it down. And my next piece, I'm going to layer over it and overlap, I don't know, 1/8 of an inch maybe. And I'm going to trim off some of this excess around it because I want it pretty close to the edge. Not 100%, but I want to at least even up the ends of the tape. Almost ruined it. Okay, so I'm gonna not trim it because all I'm doing is making a big old mess. So what I am gonna do is make sure that my dictionary paper fits or covers. The jelly plate design will cover this piece of paper. And you want to double check your dictionary page for words because the other day I was making this really awesome tape pull. Actually, no, I was making a tag. And the word at the top was inappropriate was the word, actually. And I thought, well, that's not cool if this is going to, you know, my sister-in-law. The word inappropriate probably is not a word that I want to show. So just double check your dictionary page if you're not going to completely cover it to make sure that the words on there are, you know, appropriate. All right, so I'm going to attempt to pull the tape all in one piece. I don't know how well that's going to work. And I may have to pull it from one of the ends instead of one of the sides. And by end, I mean end and not one of the long sides. Maybe I should go ahead and trim. I don't know. Changing my mind. As long as your tape is a little bit longer than your jelly plate, then you should be okay. But mine is sticking to the stuff underneath it, and it's making it very difficult to pull the tape up. So, that's why I'm changing my mind. Alright, so here goes nothing, honey. And if you get a piece where the paint is not coming up, you want to just smooth it back down until the paint starts to come off of your jelly plate. Like that. And if you have places where the paint doesn't come up, or it does like what this one just did and kind of rolls on you, that's okay. kind of smooth it back down. Pull very gently. Now, here's the tricky part. Be very gentle because you don't want your paint to stick or your tape to stick to itself. And get your dictionary page out. And now we're going to lay it down. Again, very gently because you want to make sure there are no ripples in it. Like that. Uh-oh. I did exactly what I said not to do, didn't I? There we go. All right. Now you can smooth that down. Like so. Now you have this really awesome design that you can work with. And I am actually going to show you what I'm going to do with it. So I know we've all seen tile coasters, but that's really what I'm going to make, is a tile coaster using my Gelli plate imprint tape pull. So I have this tile that I sanded the name of the company off because that company doesn't exist anymore. It's a company I used to work for. So I sanded it down and I'm just going to use it as my Gelli plate adhesion thingy. I'm going to cut out my Gelli plate imprint in the size of the coaster so that I can adhere it to the coaster or to the tile. And I think that's kind of awesome, actually, with that fleur-de-lis like that. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to trace around my tile. Like so. So that now I have the outline of the tile on here, and then I'm just going to cut it out. So now we have something like this. And I'm just going to trim slightly around it because I don't want it to be exactly the same size as the tile. You want it just a hair smaller. Okay, so this is what we have. We have our Gelli plate tape pull, and I apologize, I had a little snafu with the video. So all I'm doing is I'm cutting down my tape pull so that it fits on the tile, but you want to make sure it's just slightly smaller. So I'm having to trim it up just a bit, and I want to make sure, let's see, my tile looks like it's just smaller than a 4x4. So I want to make sure that my imprint is just slightly, probably a 3.5 by 3.5. So I'm going to grab a ruler and my craft knife. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to hit the camera. And I like this side right here that has some of the paper showing. So I want to keep that side. So I'm going to measure from that side to the other to make it as straight as possible. Actually, I think I'm going to go with, let's go with 3 3.75 by 3.75. See what happens. Okay, so that's about 3.75 by 3.75. And it doesn't quite fit, so I'm going to have to take a little bit more off. So maybe I'll just do 3.5 by 3.5. Sorry, the puppy's whining. My husband came in, and so she thinks that she needs a doggy treat or to be in her chair. Okay, so now I have a 3.5 by 3.5. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this on my tile. And actually, I think I want to round the corners just a little bit. So I'm just going to freehand the corners just a bit. If you have a corner rounder, that would probably be better. But my corner rounder is someplace else. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So that's going to sit on there just like this. It's pretty neat. Alright, so now what you want to do is you're going to use Mod Podge just like you would Mod Podge anything else. And so I have some Mod Podge out. I bought this at, where else? The Dollar Tree. I don't know if it's any cheaper that way, but they were only $1 and they had like 4 or 5 of them, so I just grabbed them all. And I'm going to put this down on my tile. Just like so. And I'm going to use a sponge brush. And just get that all over the tile. Now, if you're using a tile that you bought like at the Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, you want to get the ones that don't have a lot of the pock marks or holes in them, so that your glue adheres to your paper and it doesn't get stuck down in the holes on the tile. All right. So I'm just smoothing it down, and because the back side of this is paper, it makes it really nice. It's going to stick really well. You're going to see that there's going to be bubbles, so you're going to have to get the bubbles out. But it should work pretty nicely. And if it doesn't stick, just add more Mod Podge to it. And you want the Mod Podge pretty heavy when you do this because you are sealing the paper to the tile, but you're also sealing the tape to your paint pool. So I'm just smoothing it down, trying to get it all down nice and tight. Once you get it stuck to the tile, then you want to Mod Podge the crap out of it. That way you're sealing the seams of the tape and the paper. And I know it looks white, but I promise it'll dry clear. And I'm going to do a pretty thick coat just to make sure it's really sealed. You also want to get around the sides just to make sure that you have enough of the Mod Podge around the edges of the paper. What's up, Cindy girl? All right, now that that's on there, I'm going to use my hairdryer and aid in the speed of the drying of the Mod Podge because we have another step. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and I did 2 coats of the Mod Podge, and this is the matte finish Mod Podge, but that's okay because we're going to do one last step with this. So your paper is sealed to your tile and you've Mod Podged the crap out of it. Like I said, I put on 2 coats and that looks really awesome to me. I have one other thing I want to add to this, and that is actually a stamp, because you can stamp on this before we do our final acrylic sealer. So I have some StazOn ink because it is super waterproof and dries really fast, and I have a stamp that says, what does it say? It says amazing. I have another one that says imagine, which I really like, but I think the amazing one fits this little project because this is amazing. So I'll line that up. And I'm just going to ink up a stamp. And I think I'm going to put it, actually I'm going to do it sideways. I'm going to put it up here. So now we have our little tile that says amazing. Give that just a few seconds to dry. I close up my ink. clean off my desk here. Alright, and the last step that we have is to seal it. And I found this water-based polyacrylic sealer. It finishes crystal clear, and it doesn't have that yellowing effect like polyurethane because it's a polyacrylic. It is water-based, but it seals the whole thing and it gives it a super, super nice shine. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. And then it needs to cure overnight, and then it will be a finished product. But you'll at least get to see kind of what the shine looks like. It does go on, or it looks kind of milky in the bottle or in the can, but that's okay. And I'm probably going to need one of my other tools to get this can open. My dog so wants out of my room. It's not even funny. But my husband is cooking dinner. Or snackies, we like to call it. Because we don't really eat dinner. And this stuff stinks, so just be careful. Like I said, it looks really milky, kind of like Mod Podge in the can, but I promise it's not Mod Podge. It is something completely different, but it is really awesome. I actually bought this for dipping cold porcelain charms into to give them that really nice shine, because you know cold porcelain has a very matte finish to it, and I didn't end up using it for that. My cold porcelain is just sitting someplace not being used at the moment, so I need to get back to that. But you just paint this on just like you would paint or Mod Podge or anything else, and make sure that you get all of the edges, because you do want to make sure it is super sealed. So I'm just going over the edges just a bit. And there you have it. You have your awesome, if I can pick it up without getting this all over my fingers, you have an awesome Gelli plate tape pull Mod Podged coaster. I haven't actually tested it out to see how waterproof it is, but I have another one of these that I did the other day, and it's pretty solid, so I think it's going to work out just fine. But alright, there you go. Again, this is Elizabeth from BB's Butterfly. Check out my YouTube channel, like, subscribe, tell me how you like the new angle and the lighting. And if there's something you want to see, send me a message, let me know. You can also check out my Etsy store at BB's Butterfly. And I hope to see you around soon. Thanks. Bye.